Okay, so for those of you that are watching online, I want to just explain why we've come back in public. So item number 7 on the agenda, which was the work plan for the Joint Standards Committee, I was made aware whilst we were in closed session that this particular agenda item has got to be in public. So I apologise that we didn't inform you that we were coming back, and hopefully we can make amends and we can now take this item in public. But thank you for those that are watching, and thank you to the officers for correcting my mistake. So members, what I'm suggesting that we do is at the meeting today, originally on the work plan, we had 2 items which we haven't had on the agenda. One was the Community Governance Review update, and the other one was the YLCA representation. We've had apologies from YLCA, and therefore that's been knocked back into the January meeting. And as it stands at the moment, there really is nothing more to say about the Community Governance Review, and therefore it was felt unnecessary for Lindsay to be here to address that. So both of those have gone into the 21st of January meeting on the work plan. And so the work plan as we now have it has those 2 items on there. You'll notice from the papers that your agenda that it's also down as an agenda item, a work plan item on the 18th of March meeting as well, the Community Governance Review update. And the suggestion is that if there is an update, so if there is anything that we need to discuss on that myself and the Chair, Councillor Wardby, will make a decision to either bring that to the January meeting, in which case we won't need to look at it again in March, or if there is nothing to report in January, we'll take it off the January meeting and it'll fall into the March meeting. Are members happy with that? Okay, thank you very much. And then the other thing that we have is, you'll recall, those of you that have been on the committee for some time, and maybe those observant ones that haven't, that we do have an annual report from this committee that goes to full council. The draft report, the draft annual report, we're suggesting comes to our March meeting, where we can have a look at that. It's a really informative report. It was instigated several years ago by a previous monitoring officer, and it's just evolved into what's become a really good informative report with trends and pie charts and graphs. And so that work will happen with Frances and her team, and we'll get that draft report. If that draft report is then approved at our March meeting, it will then go to the full council meeting in July. So that's the kind of the time frames that we're looking at. Frances, you'd mentioned to me a little bit about kind of timings and end of years and figures. Do you want to just enlighten members on that part of it?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think just so members are aware, because of the timing of annual council and the financial year end, we won't get a perfect set of figures or trends or stats that reflect the precise financial year. So we might end up with the draft report coming with a slice, which is the financial year, and then at the point it gets to full council for approval, it will already be a little bit out of date, but that will be consistent with what happened this year. So we will be comparing like with the like.
Okay, any questions on that from members? No. And then just the final thing from me before I ask any members for additions to the work plan is that you'll be aware that this committee has for many, many years lobbied central government for more stringent sanctions. Not that we are a committee that longs to implement sanctions, but to have robust sanctions in place for any committee looking at standards in public life is really, really important. And so we've lobbied central government for many, many years. The current Deputy Prime Minister has indicated that she will be presenting a paper with some revisions to what is available to standards committees at our level. And what I'm suggesting was that when that paper is published by her office, that we get a chance to have a look at it and discuss it in this meeting. So I'm just asking if you will give myself and the Vice Chair, Councillor Wardby, permission to, at our discretion, bring that to the next meeting following any announcement that's made by the Deputy Prime Minister. Can I just... Are you guys happy with that? Any comments around that? No, you're all happy with that. Lovely. So that's it in terms of what I think should be on the work plan. Do members have any items or issues they think we should be looking at over the next couple of months? Councillor Chambers, please pop your mic on.
I've got a question about procedure, and this is procedure in general rather than something that we should be looking at. Is this an appropriate time to ask, or should I wait until right at the end of the meeting?
So the meeting will end with this, but I'm more than happy to give you the opportunity to ask any questions about procedure.
Thank you very much. It's about the subcommittee that is about to take place after this meeting. My impression was that the original plan for the subcommittee was that it would convene straight after this meeting had closed. Perhaps I missed something somewhere. I was then subsequently informed, as were the other members of the subcommittee, that the subcommittee had been scheduled for 6 p.m, and because it had already been published, it wasn't possible to alter the time of the meeting. I did query this because I couldn't see what the problem was in going round to the people who were attending the subcommittee, given that it would be in private, that the meeting would take place earlier in the day, slightly earlier in the day, rather than 6 p.m. It is a minor point, and I do appreciate that, but nonetheless, it was the puzzle over why the start time couldn't be amended, and I wondered if it's something that we could possibly just have a look at.
Yeah, so I'm going to hand over to Francis to just give you a concise answer to that.
We're constrained by access to information and transparency rules, what's set out in the Local Government Act around publishing agendas. So once we've said we're holding a meeting at a certain time, we stick to that time is essentially the answer. I'm sorry for the inconvenience to members. What we have suggested happens is that any time that members are waiting is an opportunity to hold a chair's briefing where matters of procedure, which will be applicable to the hearing panel, can be raised in that time, akin to a training session. So it's an opportunity to go through the procedure and know that we're fully ready to go into a hearing panel, so that time need not be taken up within the hearing panel for advice on procedure. So we will be able to conduct the business as effectively and efficiently as possible.
Sorry, Chris, and then...
I could understand the point about transparency if this was a meeting that involved the public, but it doesn't. Or correct me if I'm wrong. It is a discrete group that's all whose membership has already been decided.
No, so if I can stop you there.
Okay.
No, so the meeting will start in public. It has to start in public. You then go into a private session. So that's where the timings and the transparency has to. I can absolutely see your frustration, and if I were in your position, I would be just as frustrated. But we are bound by those rules and regulations, and I think Francis has offered an explanation and a reason, which hopefully we can kind of understand. But I do get your frustration in that. But that's the reason. As oddly as it sounds, it opens in public. Pretty much straight away it goes into private, but at least it's recorded as a meeting that had a public session to it. Councillor Runciman.
I think what hasn't been taken into account is this meeting usually lasts an hour, if that. And that may be to your super efficient chairing, but when I read it, I thought it's no way that the first meeting is going to last 2 hours. So I think if it does happen again, it's worth bearing the time frame in mind for the first meeting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is a difficult one. I'll come back to you in a moment, Councillor Fisher. I think it is a difficult one. And again, had we had the 2 agenda items that we had expected to have, then we would have almost certainly gone past 5 o'clock. And it would have been certainly longer than an hour. It would have then given you a chance to have a break and your refreshments and then come back for your 6 o'clock meeting. I think, unfortunately, we've just fallen into that point where we've lost 2 agenda items, which has made this meeting substantially shorter, although we're trying everything we can to make sure that it does go to the hour. And that's where we've kind of fallen into that gap. So it's not ideal, and I do apologise to those that are staying on for the hearing, but it's just one of those kind of difficult situations that we're in. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I believe it's legitimate, is it not, to say that you will start a meeting at a certain time and then, or on the arising of the previous meeting. So you could say, for example, schedule this for 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then say, as soon as that meeting ends, we go straight to the next. And that is legitimate, I believe,
That
is
would
it
be...
not?
You can have the last word on this, Francis.
I don't want to have the last word on this, but I think there is a way of doing it, but the way we did it was not the correct way. I think it's the other way around. I think it's on rising or, but if you say it as at X time or on rising, that's not good. So we fell into a trap. We were mindful of the on rising, it just wasn't phrased correctly. So yes, you are correct, but we didn't quite snag that route.
Or as communities do, you can have it either way around.
Okay, so I'm mindful of the time. Do any members have anything in regards to the agenda or supplementary questions to Councillor Chambers' point? If not, then thank you for your attendance. I declare this meeting closed, and those of you that are staying.